We welcome all of you and would like to call this meeting of the Board of Water Resources to order. Carrie Rathje, I think you had a...
I just, on behalf of the Washington County Water Conservancy District, wanted to welcome all of you to Washington County, and more importantly, to express our gratitude for the work the board does on our behalf. We share your mission to conserve and plan and develop water, and we are so grateful for the partnership that we enjoy with you. So thank you for being here, and thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have several other guests here with us today. We have Justin Atkinson with Sunrise Engineering. Justin?
He's out in the hall.
Out in the hall. He's not here today. David Clark. Welcome. Paul Blanchard. Paul, welcome. Stephanie McGinnis. Stephanie. She's Water and Tax Advocate, Utah Rivers Council. Okay, Brian Dixon. I think you're going to address us later. Tom will. Okay. Tom Gutine?
Yep. Hi.
Is that the right pronunciation?
You got it right. It's rare.
Got to be a Southern Utah issue. Anyway, thank you for being here, and we'll get some time at the end of the meeting to address us, okay?
Yep.
A few minutes. Let's see. William Markley, Uinta Water District, welcome. You were in our last meeting. Got Mike Collins, Bowen Collins, engineer. Welcome. Janelle Cook, Senior Vice President HDR. Welcome. Is that it? We're going to move to our agenda then, and first of all, we have approval of the minutes of January 31st. Board, any?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion we approve those minutes.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that the minutes of January the 31st be approved, I believe, as corrected. So we made a couple of little adjustments. So. Any questions on that motion, board? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Troy, you're up again. You were up this morning, now you're up again. Put a smile on your face.
Do we get the Easter Bunny this time?
I took the Easter Bunny out. It's not as fun without Brian here. So yeah, I took out some of the more entertaining slides and kept it down to the core of the talk being focused on data and how the snowtail sites are doing and how the snowpack is. So, as you all know, it's been a fantastic, very good year. Not a huge year, but man, it was well above what we experienced last year, and so we're all pretty happy with how it's turned out. So we're gonna look at 2019, and I did keep these next few slides. So before we talk about 2019, I had some slides here that discussing the El Nino, La Nina effect and how that affects the snowpack here in Utah. So in a La Nina year, generally that implies that you get a wet north and a dry south. With an El Nino, you get a wet south and a dry north. And so we all know that, and every October, news people get on and talk about the strength of the El Nino or La Nina and what that implies for the coming snow year. So I wanted to look at how those those indexes of La Nina and El Nino effects here at the snowpack here in Utah, and based on previous years. And so this graph here is from the NOAA website, and it is the strength of La Ninas, El Ninos from about 1951 forward. And so it's a sinusoidal. You get a La Nina event, it's usually followed by an El Nino event. And sometimes you'll get 2 El Ninos in a row or 2 La Ninas in a row. Just depends on what's going on in the Pacific Ocean, where that water warming or cooling events is taking place. And there are a number of years where there's actually no strong signature whatsoever. It's neither a La Nina or El Nino. So we found that there are 3 years where there's a strong El Nino, and about 7 events where there's a strong La Nina. So those are the high episode events that really are stronger than what has previously been seen. So we're going to look at Bear River. So we're going to look at the Bear River being the most northern basin in Utah, and then we're going to look at the southwest area of Utah. And what we're looking at right now is essentially the April 1 snowpack for the Bear River going back to 1936 to 2018. Generally, April 1 is the highest snowpack event highest snowpack time of the snowpack season. So we'll look at these events here. So everything that's a snowpack where you got 25 inches or more in the Bear River Basin. And there's a number of events there that are up to 25 or over. And we'll be starting with 1952. So 1952 was a strong El Nino. And so, as you know, El Nino is supposed to be a wet south and a dry north. And yet we had an excellent snowpack. And so this was the opposite. So in these strong events, these high snowpack seasons up in the Bear River, we'd expect a strong La Nina. And this is actually the polar opposite of what you'd think would happen. 1965 is a weak La Nina, so that's an improvement. And 71 is a moderate La Nina. 1982 was no index at all. That means there was not a strong signature one way or the other. It was just flat, borderline. 1986 was again no index. And 2011, we nailed that one because it has a strong La Nina. That's what you expect to see. So you expect to see a good snowpack with a strong La Nina signature. So it's really a mixed bag with these indices. Now we look at the weakest events, the worst snowpacks on record in the Bear River Basin. 1977 was a weak El Nino, no index, and a weak El Nino. So it's interesting to see that of the biggest years and the worst years, there were 2 years in both of them that had neither a strong La Nina or an El Nino. So when we enter into a season and there's not a signature whatsoever, it could really go either way. You could get a great year or you get a horrible year. Now when we look at Southwest Utah, we'll start with these 4 events here where it was over 25 inches of precipitation in a snowpack. And so at the Southwest, if you have a strong El Nino, we would expect strong El Ninos to be associated with these big snowpack years. But again, that's not necessarily the case. But there is a nice, starts out with a moderate El Nino, which is promising, no index. 2005 is a weak El Nino. So at least the El Ninos that did happen did correlate to a good year down there. And for the record, currently this year, it's a weak El Nino. Now, the South has done fantastic based on that, but most all of Utah has done really well in snowpack conditions. When we look at the worst events on record there in the Southwest, we see again a no index. 77 is a weak El Nino. Strong La Nina in 99. That correlates well. No index 2002, 2007, weak El Nino. No index and a weak El Nino. So essentially, when we think about this line shift, north versus south, sometimes this is how I always kind of envisioned it. And a lot of people take the I-70 and they draw a line there. And they say, okay, the south is, and generally this is the case, the south is generally a little bit different snowpack-wise from the north. But when you incorporate the La Nina and El Ninos and their effects, that line becomes much broader. So basically, all of Utah is a transition. So you can wake up October 1st and find out that there's a really strong, powerful El Nino in effect. And if you're in the south, you might be looking forward to a lot of snow, but don't count on that. It could really just go either way. And the reason for that is because geographically where Utah is located. It really is kind of in that transition zone, but that transition zone varies every year, year to year. And that's really a point that I want to get across to everybody from those few slides. So in Utah, the El Nino La Nino is more like a guideline, rather than an actual rule. And of course, you could always just throw a dart and you might do just as well with those events. So we always want to aim high. And as water users, we like to be optimistic. All right, now 2019. This was really a pretty great year, especially compared coming out of such a bad water year last year. We were all very nervous about what Snowpack this year and what it was going to do and how the reservoirs were going to fare. And we've done really well this year. Coincidentally, the Bear and the northeastern Uintas haven't done quite as well, but they are above average, and they'll do pretty well with their reservoir recovery this year as well. And so most all the basins below the Bear are ranging from 130 to 180%. Down in the southwest and southeast basins, those are at 180, which is fantastic. This slide here shows it's a map of Utah with all the forecast points. These forecasts are based off March 1st of this year. So all the green represents forecast that we predict at 100 to up to 150% of average. And then you can see some of those points farther up north towards the Bear. They're a little less rosy, and they're more ranging from 85 to 100%. And when you overlay the hydraulic basins on top, you can see that gradation even better, where you got some heavy greens down low, and then it goes more to a lighter pink up top. And that is also an indication of the lower forecast for the north, especially in the Bear and northeastern Uintas. And so when you overlay the snow tells, and this is a snowpack as of March 1st, there's a lot of green there, but it's a little lighter up north. So the Bear River is really facing a lesser snowpack than what the rest of Utah has. And in addition to that, they do have a lower than normal soil moisture content, soil moistures in those basins. And we anticipate that those soil moistures will actually potentially make the runoff a little less efficient. So those numbers in the Bear are a little lower than they would normally be if it hadn't been for one, the snowpack, and two, the lower soil moistures in that basin. Okay, so these graphs, I pulled these together, and a bunch of will precede this one in the same, with the same design. And so down the x-axis we have the Bear River Basin, the Weber Ogden, working on way south and down southwest Utah. And the y-axis is the snow water equivalent in inches, and this is the amount of precipitation we caught in the snowpack for the month of November compared to what the average normal for that month would be for November. So the blue is your normal, that's your average, they're your average for the month. And the orange there is the current this year. So November was fantastic, we did really well. We got those huge storms towards the end of November, and that really jacked up our numbers for November. We're ranging from, and it gave us a sigh of relief because that bumped us back up. Come January, we're hitting a little bit above normal for across the state of Utah, and we did pretty well. We got a lot of good precipitation, up to 6 inches at Provo, and the south started to catch up a little more too on the lower severe and southwest. And then February came and knocked it out of the park for us. All the basins were above normal, and the south really took off for February. And really across the state, we had storms that just were coming right across through the Sierras, through Nevada, and into Utah. So all of central Utah did really well too. And the Bear benefited from that as well, but not quite as much. It got shut out a little bit, but it's still doing much better than it did last year. And even March, for the first 2 weeks of March, we are already exceeded. We'll have probably a bigger snowpack, and because of that, we also anticipate that in the depths of the snowpack, we don't anticipate an early melt lower than normal precipitation for that month, and it really pops out in this graph here. And then I broke it down by combining basins. So north has the Bear, and then the northeast Uintas, and December stands out because it was bad across the state. And November, actually, the north and central areas of Utah were doing better than the south. But then, as we progressed through the snowpack year, the south caught up, and it really took off for the month of March. Okay, these are our time series graphs, and we're going to blow through these quickly. And so our solid black line there is the current snowpack conditions for the Bear River Basin. And Bear River is at currently 117%, so it's above your normal snowpack that we've seen over the 30-year average for this. And this is 2018. 2018, the Bear was the only basin that actually did okay, and that was not that great. The Bear pretty much tracked along 75% of average through most of the year last year. And this year, it's well above. This is 2017. So really, I look at this graph, and it really looks like it's an average between 2017 and 18, because it's now tracking right between those two. And potentially, next few storms will help pump up the Bear, and hopefully the Bear will see some improvement over the next few weeks. So in the Weber Ogden, it's at 130%, so we're getting better, just going south a little bit. 2015, again, a horrible year. 2017, this is coming kind of close back there at the peak, but it was still below normal. And then 2017, it melted out a lot, and then it bumped back up, and then came back down and melted out. So this is the melt out that you see is, well, that's probably largely due to just a warming of the pack for that year. So Tooele, we're at 111% now, but I anticipate that will improve. Tooele had a horrible year last year. It made a record low for a while, and then bumped up a little bit just toward the end of the snowpack. And so it wasn't the worst snowpack on record, but it was probably second or third worst. The whole month of March, it was tracking upward, and then all the way through April. Usually you see a snowpack kind of peak out around April, but in 2011, it just went all the way until May. And our peak was in May, so it was a full month later than what we'd normally expect. That was a phenomenal year. All right, Duchesne River, 2000 is doing fantastic, 144%. It's tracking up to 20 inches of snowwater equivalent. And it's got a little ways to go to reach the 2017 numbers. But if our storms keep going for the month of March, it'll go higher. Lower Severe is doing fantastic at 154%. 2018 is terrible. It's well above 2017. And this is the event that we see in the south. This time in 2017, the snowpack in the south just started, it decimated. It ripened up early, and it melted out, and the south suffered due to the early melt out, and the reservoirs did not do nearly as well as the north for that year. So keep an eye on that, and you'll see that occur. Now, 2011, Lower Severe is approaching 2011 numbers, so it's doing quite well. Sand Pitch was one of those areas last summer that was in the extreme drought conditions, and so the Sand Pitch had a nice big red spot on it, as well as the southeast area. And the snowpack has helped tremendously as far as helping those two areas recover from the drought last year. So Sand Pitch is at 151%. 2018 was terrible. It's doing much better in 2017. And you know what? It's on track to kind of catch up to 2011. So if it stays cool and wet, it could potentially gain a lot of snow for the runoff period. Price of San Rafael, 141%. It's horrible in 2018. 2017, it's coming up close to the April 1, and so I expect that to exceed 2017 numbers for April 1, and might actually beat out 2011 numbers. The beaver's doing great too at 155%. 2018 was terrible. 2017 was okay. But this year's better. We're not seeing that melt out. We're just seeing it keep gaining. 2011, it might reach 2011 numbers. Upper severe, 2018, 2017, and 2011. 188% of normal right now. So upper severe is doing well. Dirt numbers, and actually already beat 2011. And of course, Southwest. That's where we are right now. It's 180% of normal. So it's a good year down here. 2017, you can really see there where the snowpack at this time in 2017 just dropped off there in the Southwest. And this year, it's the exact opposite. It's actually gaining and not dropping. So we're keeping that snowpack, and we're continuing to gain. And 2011, it will likely reach close to or surpass 2011 numbers. But it's got a ways to go to hit the 2005. So 2007 have improved a little bit up north, and they're staying pretty level for the rest of the basins. So again, soil moisture is below normal in the north, normal to the south. Our reservoirs currently are, as of March 1, are 61% compared to 75% last year. And that's obviously not surprising considering how dry and hot the summer was. So we saw heavy use on the reservoirs, and there was that big fear at the start of the year how the snowpack was going to do this year and help the reservoirs recover. But we've got the snow, and it looks like that snow is going to stay on too, and it's not going to come off early. So if that's the case, it was most likely that we will fill most of the reservoirs, and most of the really big reservoirs will add a lot of water to those as well. So things are looking rosy. Oh, I have great hair. I forgot to take that one out.
That's all personal opinion.
That's right. So I'm not going to skip today. I don't know if you saw my talk, but I did a little bit of a skip across there because it's a good snowpack. I recommend that if you're feeling down that you spend some time and go skip down the road or something, because you cannot smile, not smile if you're skipping. When's the last time you skipped? So any questions?
One thing that I used to see in what Randy put together was just a reservoir by reservoir.
Oh.
I enjoyed seeing that.
Okay.
Just a suggestion.
No, thank you. I'll incorporate that. Actually, yeah, I'm sorry I didn't have that in here. I should have.
I just find that helpful.
Okay. Yeah. I'll remember that and put that in next time. You bet.
Troy, my question was similar. The 62 versus 75 that you show up there, is that excluding the big federal reservoirs like Powell and Flaming Gorge, or are they included in that?
They are not. They are included, are they? Yeah, it's about 42 reservoirs, and it does include those. Yeah. And certainly, yeah, that kind of swamps the percentages there. Right now, I think the Bear and Strawberry Lake, Strawberry Reservoir, they're actually still higher than normal at this time of year because of that huge carryover they got in 2017. So I think they'll recover pretty well. And a lot of these Southview reservoirs, I was looking at Paiute and Otter Creek and Gunnison, and hopefully Severe Bridge or Yuba reservoirs will have a nice recovery and inflow of water. So I'm very hopeful for that.
31%.
Yeah.
Anything
You,
else?
Tom? Thanks, Troy. We appreciate that.
You bet.
We'll let you keep your bunny suit.
Thank you. And Brian's right. That bunny's kind of creepy.
Yeah. Yeah. Down in my area in the southeast corner of Utah, I was on a cruise ship during their big snowstorm. When I got home, I found out there was one, so I took credit for it.
Want to forget that as soon
Get
as
them out in a
possible.
hurry.
Okay. Appreciate that. So far, so good. We only got one little area that's in a donut hole, we figure, so. Right, Blaine?
And so what they're looking and probably went and did some testing out in the field to see, you know, if we put water in here, what are we getting out on another end? And they're seeing is it about 30% losses? Is that correct?
Yeah.
About 30% losses in the seepage. So they are looking at being able to conserve about 1,600 acre feet. It will definitely increase the alignment. Not only does it go past houses, it goes as it comes out of the canyon. It goes along the edge of the hills there, and it's definitely going to reduce maintenance and operation costs significantly for them. And so this is what the request is. They do have a Water Smart grant that has been awarded to them, with construction expected this fall. And they're asking the Board of Water Resources to fund 67.2% of the project. It's a funky number, but if you take out the $300,000 grant money, the Water Resources and the company is 85-15. 85%, 15%, like other projects. And so this is the project, and staff recommends that the board authorize 67.2% of the project cost up to $961,350, and that the project be purchased at 0% interest over 21 years with annual payments of approximately $45,700. And that's staff's report.
Thank you, Marissa. Do you folks have anything to add, or?
Thanks for considering the project.
Board, any questions from the board?
Do you have any feedback from the people, like some of those pictures showed in their backyard, they had a nice little stream going through, now you're gonna have a pipeline?
In that particular backyard, isn't that where we have the pipe buried below it? And then there will still be an open
That's
facility,
still a flood channel.
a
so
flood
it's
channel
still
coming out of
water.
Maple Canyon. So our plan is to use the same easement, bury the pipe underneath here, and then have them come back and we're talking with Utah County and the city, because there's a portion of this, it's not very far.
Should I go to the outlet of it, that part?
Yes,
That it?
from that road.
This is
up
looking
about
back
300
upstream
feet.
now.
It's an open channel, so if the water comes out of Maple Canyon in the flood season, it runs over through here. So we have to have both in that part to help.
Yeah. Most people we talk to are real happy about it.
Any other questions? Board? Not, we're ready for a motion, I believe.
Yes, I'm prepared to make a motion, Mr. Chairman. I move that the board authorize 67.2% of the project cost up to $961,350, and that the project be purchased at 0% interest over 21 years with annual payments of approximately $45,700.
Thanks, Wayne. You have a motion?
Second motion.
Been motioned and seconded. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to special reports.
There we go. Sorry, we had some slides from the last board meeting. Mike and Clayne, if you want, I'll come out in a minute here and catch up.
Okay, Spanish Fork South Irrigation. You're gonna stay put, aren't you? Al Hanson, welcome. Bert, is it Bert? Brent, Wade? Not here?
I'm Brent.
Oh, okay.
I'm the next
Brent.
item.
Oh. You're Fremont.
I messed that up.
Eric, he's just gonna stay put.
Yes.
Well, that's good. take up space. That's good.
A lot of space.
Not as much as your dad.
Very, very pleased.
I remember your dad came down on a project down in San Juan County. And it took a long time for him to get out of that truck. Lots of him to move out. Marissa, this is your project also, I believe?
Yes. Don't let Eric Franson leave without your prediction for Friday's game against Washington, right? Utah State.
That's easy.
Aggies.
Good time to be an Aggie right now.
Go Aggies.
Yes, it is.
Do we have other universities in the state right now? I don't know. Sorry. Oh, Utah Valley. All right, here we go. Spanish Fork South Irrigation Company. There we go. All right, I'm not sure what happened there. Sorry. So this is just showing this project actually has already come. There was already a authorization and committal of funds for this project. It's for the irrigation company. It's called the Southfield line. So they are already under agreement for funding, but they have run into some situations where more funding is needed. And we talked about this a little in the briefing meeting. That right there is mini Florida right there at the bottom of the hill. So that was part of what initiated the talking about piping this canal. So almost all of it, I believe, is piped at this point. They're doing some finishing work. And so, as you can see, it's kind of some tight quarters through here. And what's going on, Spanish Fork South works, I'll explain a little bit better than the report did, and thank you for pointing that out earlier. Spanish Fork South works quite a bit with Strawberry Water Users Association, and they jointly are working on this project. So that is one option that applicants do have, is to per se be their own contractor. And so they were working with Strawberry Water Users. Strawberry Water Users has some equipment that they felt that they could use on the project to put in the pipe, and once they got out there and actually started fusing pieces of pipe together, the equipment couldn't handle moving things. And I can attest to the incredible muddiness and depth of mud that is out there on the project, and also very tight quarters. So this is kind of zoomed in just where they've been working. This is the area where we talked about the briefing meeting. UDOT asked them to go a little bit further up the road, and so they've done that, and they've had another turnout line they've done over here. And as you can see, they are skimming in and out between houses in through here, and this right here is on a hillside. So this is that crossing there that UDOT asked them to come to the other side. And over here is where it drops off and goes down to that area. And I had a couple more pictures I wanted to add and didn't get them in, and I apologize for that, but this is some of the work going on. So where'd my guy go? Nope, not working on this one. But if you see in the top right corner there, that is the pipeline alignment that used to be the canal. Oh, I apologize. I don't know what's happened to the PowerPoint here. Oh, it's got the wrong name up on top. I apologize for that. This is Spanish Fork. Is that correct? Does it have the?
Yeah, that looks right. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that. So the cost has gone up about $159,000. The needing to get some new equipment out on site to be able to move the pipe adequately, and so they are under contract right now with the board, and they are asking that the board commit an additional $131,150. So staff does recommend that the board commit an additional $131,150 and amend the purchase agreement to state that the board will provide. Yes. Yes.
The slide is wrong. The report states 135,150 is the additional. An it looks like the math is correct.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that too, because in here it says 135.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the 135 is correct?
Yes, it looks to be.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. We have a few eyes on this, and I definitely missed it. So, but, okay, so staff recommends the board commit an additional $135,000, $135,150, and amend the purchase agreement to state that the board will provide 85% of the project cost, up to $607,750, and the project be purchased at 0% interest over 20 years with annual payments of approximately $30,387. And then I just put a note there that the current payment is set at approximately just over $23,000. Not a staff's report.
You have any other comments on that presentation?
I don't.
The board have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I believe, Wayne, this is yours again.
Yes, I'm prepared to make a motion that the board commit an additional $135,150 to the project and amend the purchase agreement to state the board will provide 85% of the project cost, up to $607,750, and that the project be purchased at 0% interest over 20 years with annual payments of approximately $30,387.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next
Apologize
request-
for those errors in the PowerPoint.
Thank you.
Next request is Fremont Irrigation Company. I believe Brent Wade,
Yes.
you're sitting on the front row. Zion's Bank, all right. Front and center. Shalane, I believe this is your little baby here.
Well, yeah, when it comes to finances, I get to talk to you about it. So, Fremont Irrigation Company, the project was actually committed last June. The board committed $8,415,000 of a $12.4 million project that's replacing canal with pipe and installing a hydroelectric plant. But to complete the project, the irrigation company has requested loan.
Is really important for water conservation.